and you we are Citizen Outbreak. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, snuck up on me. I didn't even know that we started to record. Welcome to episode 8 of Citizen Outbreak. Again, is it always upside down or is it the camera? I can't tell. Do you see this?
You got it there.
That's it. This is the game me and Matthew created. Go to citizenoutbreak.com, buy the game. Again, if you are enjoying our show, please give us like some reviews on Spotify, on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. They'll get us going up in the rankings. Our numbers have been going up slowly but surely. Again, we're new at this, and hopefully you enjoy what we like to say. Matthew, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Rudy. How you doing?
You know, I got a bone to pick.
Yeah, what's up?
So, I feel this is like a Seinfeld episode. Yesterday, I went to the dentist, right? I had a 4 p.m. appointment. I left the city to go to New Jersey to my dentist. I left early. I rushed, sat in traffic a little bit. I got nervous. I sped. I got there 4 o'clock. How long do you think I waited?
Another hour and a half?
I waited about another hour, and like the whole thing is I want to be in and out, and he was replacing the crown. So that's not like an easy thing. That's like a hour and a half, 2 hour thing.
Yeah.
I chipped my tooth, and I needed it done because it was uncomfortable and I had food stuck up there. But anyway, I get there, I'm waiting. If I were to get there late, it's my fault.
Yeah, this is a Seinfeld episode.
It is.
George cancels. And he asks for and then they cancel on him and she went skiing.
Yeah, it's a joke, but you wait there. This dentist is actually pretty good. He had me out of there in an hour and 15 minutes. He did a pretty good job.
What did you have done?
I had a crown replaced. They drill it, they take it out.
Yeah, I was at the dentist last week also.
Let me ask you a question. When you go to your dentist and you say, okay, I need a cleaning, right? Do they try to like upsell you on like something else?
No, my guy's great. I used to love going to the dentist because I would just get gas all the time.
I hate the dentist. I hate going to the dentist.
It's different without the gas.
I don't know. They gave me, the, what's it called? The needle, the shot, the...
Oh, well, yeah, well, you had something really done. You had a crack. They're using a drill, right?
Yeah,
that's not fun.
I haven't had gas from a dentist since I was little.
My office was on 57th Street. And his, for a while, was on 57th Street. I used to be calling in there like every few weeks. Am I due for a cleaning?
We're on 57th Street.
He was in the Fuller building on 57th and Madison. Now he's down. He's on 49th. But he's a good dentist. Yeah, I had no cavities. I'm continually flossing.
Yeah, I haven't had a cavity in a long time, which is good. And if I didn't have this crack, I wouldn't have to, and I don't even
want things.
So I think what happened was I probably bit on something hard. It happened a couple months ago. I don't know what it was, but like I felt it like later. Now I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know. It's not like I bite on something.
Because I cracked my back tooth in half. I used to chew on bottle caps, like at the desk in the office. I used to chew and
no, that I don't. I was chewing on my pen for a little bit, but then I stopped that. I got this other thing,
and I grind my teeth a lot at night.
So from my former dentist, he gave me one of those mouth things that I'm supposed to wear at night, but I can't wear it because it's annoying. But it's supposed to stop from grinding. Yeah. But I don't think I grind. I think the reason why he gave it to me is because I was chewing on my pens. Anyway, now I don't chew on my pens. What I got? I have the jazzer size thing. I think you got it. It's the thing that you put
jaw strengthener.
Yeah, the jaw strengthener.
I wanted to. I was thinking about that not too long. I got it when you told me about it. I got it, but I lost it. I gotta get a new one. I don't know. That reminds me.
Oh, so yeah, I put it in. I do that.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I exercise and I work out my my jaw and
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get that one again.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. All right,
I showed you what's in the mail. I ordered it.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I mean, now I know what it is.
Yeah.
So to everybody who's listening or watching, Matthew ordered dick laser, and I was like, what the fuck is a dick laser? And so I ended up looking it up, and it's Matthew. You want to tell them what a dick laser is?
It's like instead of the red dot, a cock and balls shows up on the person.
Yeah, so you walk around and you have this laser pen and you're shining cock and balls on people.
I got you one, and I got me one. So
Fantastic.
It's traveling by USPS, so who knows if it makes it.
USPS is like
they by the time it gets here, I'll forget that I would have ordered.
It's like donkey mail. All right, let's jump into these topics that we have. I mean, last time we spoke about tariffs, and now we're in the thick of tariffs. It's a nightmare what's going on. The stock market is it's evaporating trillions of dollars. It's a total mess on Wall Street, and already prices are going up. People are complaining. It's a nightmare out there these tariffs that are going in. And the tariffs are actually going in tonight.
Midnight, yeah, 12:01.
Midnight tonight. Today is April 8th, Tuesday, April 8th. They go in midnight. I think some go in the following day.
Yeah, I think like China's got like a 600% tariff in place.
100, I think 104.
Yeah, 104.
It's really, so I have my thoughts on these tariffs, and I go here and there, here and there, here and there. I want to hear what you think, and then I'm going to tell you what I think.
I think that Trump has, this is the fight he's been waiting for like around 40 years, right? I think he didn't necessarily want to get to it in this order. My feel is that this was something, I think that what he wanted to get, as it was laid out, I think he was going to try and deal with Ukraine first, the Middle East got going, and I think he got rebuffed. That's taking a different time, and I think he kind of jumped ahead to this. And I think, Trump has never been at the head of a real corporate culture, right? I mean, he's a one-man band, paper napkin, instinct type player. He never, put together a real corporate. It was, he was Donald Trump, and that's how he ran everything. And I think, my feel for this is that chart that came out last week that we talked about. I think he probably saw it 5 minutes before they went out into the garden. I think that, he's somebody that has had strong convictions about his viewpoints on how trade and tariff plays into the economy. And I think he's had a strong view on what his approach is going to be in this situation for that time. And I don't think he's got I don't think it's his style. I don't think he has the patience or the discipline to really sit down and put together like a thoughtful approach to how they're going to roll this out to people. And I think he thinks also that kind of transparency would be a liability in the fight that I think he's envisioning. So, it's like me and you taking out, because now he's sitting on top of the biggest bureaucracy in the history of mankind, right? He's sitting on top of the federal government. And it's like me and you grabbing the Titanic and just taking it out for a spin. So I think we're seeing in real time somebody go at this really just playing it on whatever he's got in his head and really not providing the kind of transparency. So it's chaos.
Right.
I think his administration has been, he's got these four guys that are running around saying different things. On one side, they're talking about, what's really like a socialist type agenda that I certainly wouldn't have been in favor for, which is this centrally planned, redistribution of wealth based on, tariffs that he's going to keep in place long term. And that's what they're going around saying. On that side of things, Rudy, you think about bringing work home. There's a reason why I think he went towards the trade aspect of this first, because he can do things without the bureaucratic process. I mean, going for the taxes, which he's talking about being some kind of offset against these things, that takes real bureaucratic. He's got to go through Congress. He has to legislate. He's got midterms coming up. People in D.C., they're not going to be jumping to try and get his vision of what taxes reform should be speedy. Building factories takes time. Getting rid of the cumbersome, onerous regulations that we have in place that make, these, cheaper labor, less regulated territories more attractive. That takes time. So you've got two of those guys running around saying that, and then you got the other one saying that this is a negotiation tactic. And really, you have people, I'll just close, like you have people left, you're going around Twitter looking for people to try and make sense of this. And they're like piecing together 1980s interviews of the guy with his truths and retruths, and he's not communicating to the public at all. So you're really left with like, okay, this guy's just going to run this thing based on his instinct and his ideas, which he's not sharing with us in any kind of coherent way. So it's chaos. It's chaos right now. I mean, I love the idea, obviously I'm sorry I'm going on, but I love the idea of shoring up our supply chain vulnerabilities. And obviously, I've driven through the Midwest. I've driven through upstate New York. I've gone through where these towns really were. Like you go through some of these forgotten towns of America, where the middle class, our industrial base really has been hollowed out. You see that it's a real thing, and it's eerie. It's very sad. So I mean, these are real things,
Right.
but just kind of launching this kind of like as a surprise attack based on his feel for things, and that's how it feels to me. Without any kind of coherent plan, with a lot of things unanswered, it's just it's what we're seeing in the markets. That's why you're getting this response.
Right. So Wall Street, I think the reason why the stocks and everything are down is because of uncertainty. That's the number one thing. The number two thing, they're afraid of a recession, stagflation, depression. They're afraid of a lot of things of uncertainty. When you get into a trade war, there's no winners in a trade war, right? So I'm going to tell you what I think, and then you could chime in. But I totally agree, and I think we spoke about this back in 2020 when during COVID happened. We've definitely talked about this because we had a big issue. Is we have a supply issue, and if China shuts down on giving us anything, then we don't have anything. We don't have the medicine, the basic medicine. You can't get medicines. But okay, so here's my thing. Masks. You can't get masks. I know a guy that made millions of dollars on masks. He had to move to Puerto Rico to avoid taxes.
Right.
Anyway, but here's the thing. I do think that we need to start manufacturing things in the U.S. I do think that. But we have a big problem in the U.S., okay? It's called regulation. It's called labor laws, okay? You're not going to have Joe Schmo, 25 years old, who just graduated from junior college, who's looking for something. Number one, he's not going to go into a plant and start putting together cars. That's not going to happen. They're going to put in robots, okay? So you could forget about, oh yeah, we're bringing in jobs. No, the only jobs I could see is people fixing the robots. But the robots are going to be doing everything, okay? So the plants, they could build the plants. A plant, here's the problem. Plants take 3 to 5 years to build. Most likely 5 years. So there's a timing issue here, okay? You're not telling Apple and all these companies and car manufacturers and, diaper makers, I don't know, whatever you want to say or whatever, to come here.
Dick laser makers, yeah.
Which one?
Dick lasers, yeah.
Dick laser makers to come here to the United States to make something because they can't. They can't. And not only that, they can't do it within a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. So we're going to have a problem with that. What's going to happen is prices on everything go up because it's going to hurt people, right? Then the other thing is, I listened to the Scott Bessent and Tucker Carlson interview over the weekend, and they talked a lot. I think it was like a 2.5 hour interview. It was very, very, very good interview. He spoke a lot about stuff, but the one thing, I took out a couple things. One I took out is he kept pushing for AI robots in the factories. So if you want to do your due diligence on AI robots and see which companies in the US have AI robots or are manufacturing AI robots, that's a good play in the stock market if you want to get behind it. Second thing is at a percentage of United States, how many people are actually in the stock market, Matthew?
Actively trading, or how many people?
Have stocks, not actively trading. Like who owns stocks?
I'd say less than 20%.
I think it's 10%.
Okay, because I saw something like 8 or 12. Yeah, okay, 10%.
I think it's 10%, right? So, and who are those 10%? Are they wealthy people? Or are they poor people? Who are those people, Matthew?
No, for sure. I mean, it's people that have disposable income.
Right. So it's wealthy people who invested. And then you have to say, okay, the stock market just tanked. And what does middle America say? I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I don't care. You know why? Because they're saying, well, you know what? Fuck the rich. And what's really interesting is Trump, who the left and the Democrats are saying, oh, he's for the billionaires, he's for the billionaires. What did he just do to the billionaires? He just Anya Harding them.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
He went up and he smacked them on the knee. And guess what happened? They lost billions of dollars. His buddy,
trillions.
Well, yeah, but look at Elon Musk. He lost a couple, 100 billion, something like that.
I mean, he lost a lot of money. Warren Buffett didn't.
Warren Buffett didn't because Warren Buffett is not his buddy. Warren Buffett is not a Trump supporter.
He went to cash. Yeah, no, I mean, I know what you're saying. I mean, this was a real. Yeah, sorry.
So back to Scott Bessent, and then I'm going to get to another point. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I just have so much stuff going on, and like there's a
Yeah.
lot to take in,
Yeah.
and there's a lot to spit out of what I've taken in the last couple of days with these tariffs. So back to Scott Bessent and what he was saying. Besides the AI robots and the factories and all that stuff, I think the end game is to kill China, destroy China. Okay, China's been making a lot of money. We have a huge trade deficit with China. Okay, China's been stealing from us, stealing our products, stealing our intelligence, stealing everything. Okay, and what they take a technology, they dissect it, they cut, and then they spit out the exact same thing. They have all the fake products. You have all these cheap products, and they're sending them over here, and they're making them, and they're not. They deflate the yuan. The yuan right now is tanking right now. China's not good. And if you remember, a couple months ago, we had the whole thing with the Panama Canal. And
No,
then
that's still going on, and he's
that's
right
still
about
going
that.
on.
Trump's right about that.
Of course he's right about it. But how do you fight with a country that is doing everything in their power to go against you? They send the fentanyl in. They're not stopping. He gave him an out. He said, stop sending fentanyl, and we'll get rid of these tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're in this mess because, for decades, Republican Democrats we started really as a deterrent to the Soviet Russia, to building up China. And through decades and different administrations, we just kept building up that economy. And it was also a great place for cheap labor. So we could just outsource our production. In the process, we really did. We killed our industrial base.
Right. So let me ask you this question. And this is I brought this up today to a couple of people, and they were like, you know what, maybe you're right about this. Say I'm CEO billionaire of one of these Fortune 500 companies, and I was a big Trump supporter, and I thought, you know what, I am one of those Trump billionaires that thought Trump was going to be good for me. And the last couple of days, I've lost wealth. My shareholders are in panic mode, and the stockholders want to jump out a window because they've lost a lot of wealth. Okay, so now I'm in a position where I'm like, Trump came to me and asked me to move my company to the United States, invest billions of dollars to build a plant that'll take me 3 to 5 years before I can make $1. I have to sell my shareholders on this idea. So picture this. I'm taking billions of dollars and I'm moving to the United States to build a factory. But in the last couple of days, I've lost 20 times that amount, right? So now Trump has 3.5 years left of his term and midterms. Okay, you got the midterms coming around. Do I move and invest that money into the United States, or do I B, say, you know what, I'm gonna hold out for 3.5 years, 4 years, or maybe midterms, maybe something will turn around. I'll wait it out. I'll wait, and then I'm gonna put my money behind AOC, Gavin Newsom, whoever it may be who's running against on the Democratic side, knowing that all these tariffs are going to go away and all this problems are going to go away, and it's going to go back to cheap Chinese labor, and I'll make more money that way. I just have to wait.
So I think the first period of wait, right? And I think this has been going on all last quarter. This is a moment where you got to hold out and wait and see what happens. You think about that. You think about a business, manufacturing type business, in an American business that has at least some part of its manufacturing overseas. And if it's a thin profit margin business, this could kill it, right? Because that difference, that jump in expense on those cost of goods could put your business, could put you out of business. So, what they've been doing is they've been going nuts the past couple months, figuring out what are we going to do about his decision. The best thing to do is, if you can, is just not do anything. Right, and wait and see what's going on. Like right now, he's got Bessent going around talking about negotiations. He has Navarro and Lutnick talking about making France buy our chickens. So, if I'm a CEO of a company, I'm holding off and I'm waiting to see which direction this is heading in, because they're very different decision points. Right, if all of a sudden he's able to negotiate better, things that then puts it into motion, one to three decisions, whereas if it's really like game on, we're not, we just can't, we're going to be shut down. We got to figure out other production means. I mean, right now, everything's just up in the air, and we're getting really no coherent communication from him. And if I, really, he's the only one that matters. I mean, I saw Larry Kudlow yesterday said he just can't wait for Trump to get involved because at least you'll understand what's going on here.
Right. So
You
back
know.
to what you just said, negotiations. So Bessent said they have 70 countries already willing to negotiate. Now, let me ask you this, back to Trump's thing of bringing manufacturing and everything back to the United States, at least for whatever he can get people to come. Now you negotiate to all these countries and let's just say, best case scenario, free trade, 0-0, right? 0-0. Why would I spend billions of dollars to move here then?
Well, look, I think there's, because that's met with other kinds of, you meet that now what he achieves on the trade side with, tax incentives and hopefully all that stuff that we know takes longer, but there's the other side of this. And, that's why it's a dicey, starting with this side of the coin before going to Congress for the tax is tricky. Because if your Republicans are scared about their seat, right? Like the narrative is now this was a preemptive cannonball into the pool. Like, let's go force a recession if needs be because I want to go beat China. That's the narrative. And if you're in Congress, all you care about is keeping your seat. So you're not rushing to come out right now. I mean, you already have Republicans lining up to try and cut off his ability just to get on record because he'll veto it, right? Just to get on record to try and put legislation together to say you can't do these tariffs without our approval.
Right. So then here's the other thing. The incentive is, if I'm coming here, I want big tax breaks. Right?
They're gonna have to do a bunch, right?
A bunch. I want big tax breaks if I'm coming here. Okay, so now back
They're gonna have to do regulatory stuff. I mean, there's a reason why we had to send our shit over there.
Yeah, because nobody cares if.
I mean, I've been to those factories in China. That doesn't look like our factories.
No, so yeah, because our factories, the people are wearing the hats, the goggles, the protective gear.
I've been over there. I've seen guys running around big, in smelting things with big saran wrap running. I mean, it's crazy. Some of the shit I saw.
They don't have any protective gear. There's no
protective gear.
Nobody's coming in. There's no inspector coming in and saying, "Oh, you're not doing this right. This is wrong. We're going to shut you down." Because here they shut you down.
It's a very different deal. It's a very different environment.
If you remember, during COVID, they had these rinky-dink, pencil-neck geek inspectors coming in and looking at the factories and saying, "You know what? This is dangerous. Shut down." And they shut down, and then they couldn't get the production up, and it screwed us to getting certain products during COVID. And that's what's going to happen again. Because you have the unions, the labor laws.
Yeah, I mean, Trump has, and that's why, right? Because on all fronts, there's really good points to make and things that we need to fix. I mean, DC politicians don't really exist to fix problems. They exist to kind of allow for corruption to get in, and loopholes and all that stuff. But they just want to keep power. On all this stuff, the strategy has been kick the can down the road. And, look, on the issue of our supply chain, we experienced it during COVID. I mean, that's real. That is a national security issue. That's real.
Right.
On the issue of just, there is no, like, people, I speak to people. I mean, my barber tells me, he doesn't think it's realistic for him to buy a house ever. I mean, that is the American dream. And, there's been plenty of literature published on that, like that, where people don't believe that that's an achievable dream anymore. So America's changed. And I mean, so the middle class has been just, vanished. And I get the kind of, on a lot of these points, but the way he's going about it, is chaotic.
Right. So again, now you brought up, the middle class, lower class, whatever you want to call it. Another thing that Scott Bessent kept talking about was basically this concept of redistribution of wealth.
Yeah.
Okay. So they wanted to, and again, this is coming from the Republicans, not the Democrats. They want to take the money from the wealthy and give it to middle America.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders should be out there with a MAGA hat on.
He should, because this is right up his alley. And I'm surprised that a lot of news outlets are not picking this up, what they're talking about. They're blatantly talking about the redistribution of wealth. They want to take money from the elite and give it down. Isn't it funny that no one's talking about it?
I mean, Trump's out there trying to say that we shouldn't be doing all these wars. He's out there talking about wealth redistribution. He's, he doesn't sound like the Republicans we grew up with.
No,
You
and
know?
we're talking about the taxes,
Yeah.
and now Senate is trying to work through everything. Trump's going around and talking to these senators and saying, I want to increase the tax rate on the wealthy
Yeah.
and
No,
on small businesses. Small businesses.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a rumor, but that's what he's talking about. He's talking about increasing the rates on the wealthy and changing the corporate rate. Who is this man? What's going on?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, what you hope for is that you start getting some coherent visibility on what he's thinking with these tariffs. And the reality is, like, there's supposedly, I think the White House did say, or Bessent said, I mean, that Japan, but Trump did say that Japan is sending over that he's going to be talking with Japan.
Japan is on the flight right now. South Korea is on a plane right now. I don't know if they're
Right.
coming together or on separate planes, but they're coming here. Well, not here, to DC. They're going to make deals. Look, my whole thing is I'm not worried that he's going to make deals. These tariffs are going to somehow go away. And this is
Forget about the stock market, by the way, the bond market.
The bond market is another thing.
No, but I mean, this is
There's a big issue right now.
This
There's
is
a big
messy.
issue.
Of course.
The 10-year was the other day at 3.8. We spoke about it. I thought it was going to be at 3.6 by today. It spiked up. Why does it spike up? Why?
Because people are selling and not buying our treasuries.
Who?
And also they're worried about inflation. It's the Chinese.
Exactly. The Chinese have been selling it. So what happens? It goes up. So his whole thing is, I'm going to crash the economy. I'm going to bring down the rates. I'm going to refi, because he's got to refi the debt in a couple months. He's going to refi at a lower rate. And that's why he keeps saying to Powell, lower the rates, lower the rates. Powell can't lower the rates. He's got he can't do it anymore. It's up to the bond market. Treasuries, it's a total mess right now.
Well, look,
China.
The reality is China needs us. So they're devaluing their currency. I mean, China without us, they're gone. The world needs our markets. So I mean, it's not like we're coming into this without, but the kind of the game of chicken. Like, how much pain will Trump go through? How much pain will the Republicans sit back and follow him on? And look, it's been 3 days, Thursday, Friday. It's been 4 days, and there's legislation being drawn up by Republicans. I mean, America has a very short bandwidth for this, and the hysteria is being punched up. And not to say that it's not real. I mean, you're talking about massive consequences here, but I'm just saying China, it's just a game of chicken here. We'll see.
It's a big game of chicken, and everything is a mess right now. We need the rates to come down,
including Powell. By the way, it's a three-way game of chicken between Powell, Trump, and China.
Powell, we don't have enough time for me. We'll talk about Powell on the next one, because I don't like Powell.
I think
he's an idiot with his purple eye.
I think he's
an idiot.
He's a lot of, these guys have been very political.
He says he's not supposed to be political, but he is political.
Of course he's
We're going to talk about it next time. I'm not talking about it right now, because our next topic, I know you're very upset about this. I know you lost a lot of sleep last night. You actually told me today that you lost sleep about this. Do you know what I'm talking about? No? Okay, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
China, in their threat, has decided that they're going to ban American movies. I know you're really upset that Snow White will not be being played in China.
Yeah.
What say you about?
Well, I saw one Twitter guy's influencer put out something saying you can't even, when they saw that, they said you can't give Snow White away, which I thought was funny. But it's funny. I haven't, the first new movie that I watched was Anora, which I liked. And I didn't even know that it was nominated. I saw it like 2 days before the Academy Awards, which I didn't even know were on. I guess with all the streaming stuff, I never really pay attention to what new movies are out. But, I think Hollywood basically exists right now to service China. Right. I mean, the movies, I think a lot of the movies that are being made are really not doing great over here. And then they go over there and they do better at it. So that's a big deal.
Well, back in the day, I mean, I don't know how it is now with film financing, but back in the day, Sony used to get financing from Japan, from China, to make all those superhero movies. And then they ended up selling to Disney, and I'm sure Disney gets a lot of that money from China and to make all these things, and so they'll make certain movies.
I mean, Disney. Look at the NBA. I mean, that's the only place where the NBA is popular right now is in China.
And
I mean, our
that's
cultural
why-
exports there.
Right, and that's why you have people like LeBron James who will bash things here in the United States, but will never ever say anything bad
John
about
Cena.
China. John Cena's a good thing.
John Cena.
How to speak Mandarin.
He apologized in Mandarin for saying something that was perceived as bad against China. I mean, our cultural.
WWE's never been to China.
Really?
No, they've never gone to China.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They've gone to Saudi Arabia. They've gone to Europe. They've gone to UK. They've gone to India.
I'm surprised.
Have they gone to Qatar? I don't know. But they've never been to China.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. So, look, they're all bending the knee, all these people, but China just said big fuck you to Hollywood, and now what's going to happen is...
Well, Hollywood's on China's side.
Well, yeah, so what's... And here's the other thing.
Right.
Here's the other thing that I don't understand. Is it not me, but does China not have slaves working in China in the factories and stuff?
Well, yeah, that whole, I mean, China has, I mean, when you frame it that way, right, about our workforce, I mean, reality is that, yeah, we're exploiting their lack of, I mean, China doesn't have a private legal industry, right? You can't just go and get a lawyer in China. That doesn't exist. You know, the idea of individual rights doesn't exist. It's the collective. You don't have individual rights. So that concept of like inhumane treatment really doesn't exist.
So where are the human rights Hollywood people, activists that are always protesting and doing this? Why are they not turning up for China and they're kissing their ass?
Because profits.
Dollar bills, y'all.
The dollar bill talks, right? Exactly.
What they want.
You know, and it's just been pedal to the metal on that for, you know.
Pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
All right, let's that I knew you were very upset about China and Hollywood, and you couldn't sleep.
But I'm psyched for Mission Impossible 8 or 9, whatever it is.
12.
Have you seen any of these?
I stopped.
I was in Houston in August with my mother, and we watched like every single Mission Impossible. They're fun. I mean, they're still like fun movies. And the last one, I love the last one. I can't wait for that movie. But those movies are like, if you go and you look at the profits and the sales and the box office success of all these, it's like it'll be like this company did X, this movie did X in America, but you know, like when it got to China, so it's a big deal. And I know they loved
Tom Cruise.
You got it. I'm going to see that movie. I'm excited for that movie.
Okay, let's on to the next topic. We're going to maybe this is another Mission Impossible thing. I don't know, but do you remember Ryan Wesley Ruth? Ryan Wesley Ruth.
See the guy? He's the guy that took a shot, right? Or was going to take a shot.
He tried to take a shot. He was the guy who was hiding in the bushes in West Palm Beach at the golf.
Right.
Yeah. So this guy comes out that he was trying to buy an anti-aircraft missile launcher.
I saw this.
Did you see this? And guess who he was trying to buy it from?
Slava Ukrainska.
Yeah, he was trying to buy it from Ukraine. And what was he going to do with this thing? What was his plan?
Well, you know, I don't want to say it.
Well, yeah, I don't want to say it either, but he was going to launch it into somebody's airplane.
Right.
You know, and it's funny because around that same time period, did you see Trump stopped taking his plane, he started taking another plane? You remember?
I remember there was like, and Sean Ryan had this guy on right after before the Tesla blew up, that they had intel. Yeah, they had intel that people were going to be aiming at his plane.
Yes. So they had
that.
intel, but reportedly
the claim was that they had intel. You know, that was the claim that this guy made on that show that I saw.
I saw that the claim was that it was intel, but it was from somebody from the Middle East, Al Qaeda or ISIS or somebody like that was planning to do it. We not Ryan Wesley Ruth.
I think he was in that BlackRock commercial supposedly, right?
He was in the BlackRock, and he went out to Ukraine and supposedly he tried to fight against Russia. So
stable human being.
His whole thing was, and whoever he was talking to, that he was trying to buy this. I don't know. I've never tried to buy one. I don't know how easy it is or who you contact. I don't know if it's like the Yellow Pages or you Google who's selling
Dark
them.
web.
the dark web or how you find this. I have no idea, and I'm not looking for it. But his whole thing is Trump is not good for Ukraine. Trump is not good for Ukraine. That was his whole motivation of taking him out. That he's not good for Ukraine.
Right.
So crazy people, crazy things. I'm glad that they caught this guy and that he's a terrible shot. And he.
I wish we could. I wish we. It's strange to me that we never really, I mean, we never really found out more about him. This is the first little tidbit that we've gotten on him, and the other guy that was on the roof, right?
Well, the other guy who was on the roof, we're never going to find anything about.
Right, but there's like a bunch of open questions on that whole thing, and.
But this guy, like the other guy...
It's a shame because I thought Kash Patel was going to be this big, transparency guy. Doesn't look like it.
Well, it looks like we're finding out more about this Ryan Ruth character. You got to imagine one of these things has to... I think it costs I think he said somewhere around 60 grand. Where's he getting 60 grand? I think the guy was out of work. So who's giving him the money?
Yeah. And who's he talking to?
Who's he talking to? I don't know. Speaking of Kash Patel, not really Kash Patel, and this goes back to people paying for things. Pam Bondi, another person who totally crickets, donuts, whatever you want to call. We were promised Epstein list. We were promised more JFK files. We were promised Diddy files. We were promised 9/11 files. Yeah. The only files I got was the files I would deal with at work. I haven't seen anything from her. I don't even know what she's doing besides going on late night talk shows and talking to people on Fox News and all these places. She hasn't done anything. But now today, I don't know if you saw this today.
What did she do?
She said that, and I guess some information came out. I guess more information is going to come out. But all those Tesla fires and protests and burning, supposedly, and she's going to be, I don't know if this is how true it is, but she's going to be bringing a case against George Soros and his little son, Alex Soros. Apparently, they are the ones behind the funding of these. I mean, is it really of course.
I don't know. Look, I think it just appears like there's some places that even our president's not allowed to do. Kash Patel, there's a lot of footage of him running around talking about, what he's going to do day one, this, that. He just hired this guy that was a big, in on, I don't know, he was part of the J6. And, it just looks, whether it's the Epstein stuff or, Crossfire Hurricane and all that, accountability, transparency, just doesn't look like it's ever on the menu in DC, and I think the reality is about the place, if they were going to really start doing that, they'd have to throw pretty much everybody in jail. But it's disheartening. I mean, because it's just like Kash Patel was like this guy and they were freaking out about him getting in, and literally day one, all he does is talk about, we arrested some more gang members. Great. But it's this was supposed to be the transformative, moment. And, the other thing is, to your point, kind of just circling back on all of it, right, is once this term's over, there's nobody that I can see on the horizon that's really going to come and look to stick to any kind of aggressive agenda. Like a J.D. Vance, a young guy, very talented guy, smart guy. I don't see anybody after Trump that's really wants to get into any of this stuff. And Trump apparently looks like he doesn't have the power or will to do so. I mean, he's got a lot on the plate and he's got a huge bureaucracy that's, against him, as we saw. So I'm not saying it's easy, but whatever the reason is, it just doesn't look like it's possible. So I mean, Kash Patel is in my opinion, a total flop.
So, I mean, I feel like both of them. I mean, we were promised on day one. And while they were going through all the hearings, the Senate hearings, these people were afraid. You got Schiff, who's scared.
Maybe they were. Maybe it was just theater.
I think maybe it was theater.
I mean, the one that if I'm Dan Bongino, I don't take that job. Because his brand is, he's putting out these cryptic tweets just because it's not making headlines now. You have the evidence. You know what I mean? It's on the stuff that involved Ukraine, on the stuff that involved, Trump during his campaign with the PP tape. I mean, you have the evidence. You have a lot of stuff.
Forget about the Ukraine stuff for a minute. They have Epstein files. Release them. They're saying, because of national security. First of all, national security. They said the national security thing weeks ago. You
That's
got
bullshit.
AI could read
bullshit.
everything and tell you what's national security, what not national security. Put into Chat GPT, put into this one, that one. I don't care.
Yeah.
Have a little guy read it.
That's bullshit.
Come up and say, okay, here we go. The JFK files, release them.
I mean, they released a bunch of shit, and it's like they didn't do anything right. They just, it's bullshit, right? Because they basically, it's like they just threw a lot of shit at you and didn't do anything to like show, it's like, oh, here you go,
800 pages,
right? 8,000 or whatever.
Whatever,
it was like
8,000 pages,
no, but
80,000, whatever it was.
Who knows?
Eradicated,
Right.
Nothing good, nothing juicy. They still didn't tell us anything. They basically appeased us, whatever.
No, it's all bullshit. So, it's tricky, but I mean, it certainly looks like whoever's been running things is still at least in the room, if not still very much behind the wheel in a lot of these categories.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, I guess it's wait and see. We are going to sit back, wait and see. The market, as we're talking, is tanking again. Fun stuff. But again, who gives a shit about the market, right? It's only the wealthy people. Who gives a fuck? His approval rating is through the roof right now because nobody gives a shit about the market except people that we're around, right?
That's, that is like whenever this stuff comes up, there's two things that drive me nuts. One is this fair share thing, right? The Democrats forever were whenever they talk about tax or anything, they say fair share. It's never defined, right? They just say fair share because it's class warfare. And then it's this corporations thing. Right? Like people say like, oh, but tax breaks to the corporations, it's like corporations are these like, inanimate things that are forged in this using Putin blood in like Mordor, like with Lord. It's like corporations are people. So, these things that are getting done, this tariffs, if they don't figure it out soon or give some, people get some kind of visibility to stand on to form some kind of strategy, there could be it's going to have massive, quick ripple effects. Pretty bad.
I think it's going to have a big, I don't know. We're going to see. Again, last final thought. Do I think we need it? Yes. Do I think the time of all this preparation? Horrible. What I would have done was I would have gone, made some phone calls. I would have tried to negotiate and then go with the threat. Look, if you don't do it by August, September, I'm doing this, and I'm not doing it like within I'm going to do it right away. I'm going to have everything done. I'm going to throw everything out there with what we're going to do, how we're going to tax it, not come up with some crazy formula that nobody understands, and then I'm going to start negotiating.
I don't think he had anything. I don't think he had anything to do with the formula, and he's not been tethered to it since. He doesn't mention it. Look, what he could have done is because they're talking about stuff that we've mentioned. He could have come out with charts that show all the different ways that China and the EU, and he could have targeted China and a bunch of other countries and really gone through and given a list. Here's the tariff rate. Here's the other strategies that they're using to keep our goods out. And we want them to move this, remove that, do this, do that, and really put something transparent and send what he's looking for so that people could actually follow along with some kind of metrics. The way he came out with something that really, I think he probably just looked at first time on the lawn. Literally, I don't think he saw that before.
I think he saw it, and the rumor is that whatever they gave him, he was 100% behind it. He's the one that took everything. He's the one that came up with this concocted.
No, Navarro came up with that formula, and supposedly Trump saw it 10 minutes before they walked out. So
what's Musk calling Navarro now?
Retardo. Trump's not talking about. He's saying, he's not, and they've been asked about it, and they kind of run away from that chart because I don't think it had any kind of. Look, man, he was talking about Liberation Day for 2 months, and literally up until 20 seconds before the thing, they're talking about he might do this, we might do that. The White House is thinking about this type of tariff. I don't think that there was any kind of real weight put on that chart because I think Trump's known what he wants to do for 50, for whatever amount of time, and he's like, all right, whatever you guys want to use, I don't give a shit because I'm going to do what I want anyway.
Well, it was definitely Liberation Day, liberated people from a lot of money. But all right, until next time, we'll try. I think next week we have a little break, and then we're back after that. Maybe we'll try to sneak one in somehow next week. I don't know how we're going to do it because I'm traveling, but we will see if we can do that. Again, thank you very much for tuning in. Buy the game, citizenoutbreak.com. Please. My daughter says, why do you keep saying please on the podcast? You sound like you're on your knees begging. We'll see you next time.
All right, my man. Be good. Thank you.